Hi guys, my name's Simon and welcome to Write Club Presents, a YouTube channel designed to show you how to become a much more powerful and creative writer. In our first session, we're going to look at one of my all-time favourite techniques, a technique I like to call the scale of fear. Now when we describe someone who's scared, we often use sentences like he was horrified, or words like petrified and terrified. Now these are great words, but they only tell us how scared someone is. What we really want to be doing is showing how scared someone is. In order to do that, let's start with someone who's just a little bit scared. And since we're talking little, let's use something really small, goosebumps. If I take goosebumps and I put that in a sentence, I can have something boring like this. Goosebumps appeared down his arm. The first two things I'm going to do to improve that sentence is think about how many goosebumps. Are we talking hundreds, thousands, millions? I think we can go even bigger. Billions. And the second thing I want to do is think about that verb appeared. Well, that's just simply not powerful enough. So let's think about other verbs we could use instead. I'm going to go with danced. So all I've got to do is put those two things into my sentence. Billions of goosebumps danced down his arm. Much more powerful already. The next thing we're going to do is extend the sentence by adding some other bit of description. How about this? Those hairs that stand up on the back of your neck when you get a little bit scared. So I add that to my sentence, and here you see it. But that alone is not powerful enough. What I want to do is add an adjective now, an adjective to describe those hairs. We all know they're very small, so let's just take a synonym for the word small. Here are a few options around me. I'm going to go for minuscule. So there we have it. A nice sentence which we can improve even further still. Okay? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to extend that last bit. We're going to extend it by adding a simile to describe those hairs. Now the hairs are like lots of little things stood up on end. So we need to think of something where there's lots of things stood up on end. I've got a few options here. We could use like trees in a forest, but I think we can do better. Like soldiers standing to attention? Well, I've got one more actually, one more that I think is really powerful. Like frozen blades of grass. Now I know what you're thinking, that's enough. But actually, I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to extend that simile. And by that, I mean I'm just going to add a bit more detail. So how about this? Like frozen blades of grass on a winter's day. Now that's much more powerful. So all I've got to do now is put all of that into my sentence. And here we have it. Billions of goosebumps danced down his arm, and the minuscule hairs on the back of his neck stood up like frozen blades of grass on a winter's day. That's a seriously powerful sentence, a seriously great way of showing someone who's just a little bit scared. The next part of our scale of fear takes us further. It takes us up to someone who's not just a little bit scared, but a bit more scared. And in order to do that, I want to think about something different, another way of showing fear. And if you tune your ears in now, I'm sure you can hear it. Of course you know what that is. That's the heartbeat. Now what happens to our heartbeat when we're scared? Of course it speeds up. So that's all we're going to do. And here we have a simple sentence to show that. His heart beat rapidly. Of course that's not powerful enough. What we need to do is add another simile to that sentence. So I've got a few options. His heart beat rapidly, like a race car. I don't really feel like that one suits the situation, so I've got another option. His heart beat rapidly, like a cheetah. I know what you're thinking. You've heard that one before. That one's been used time and time again. But actually, if we just extend it, a bit like we did to our last simile, we can make it more powerful. So let's have a look at it again. Like a cheetah, but this time, like a cheetah chasing its prey across the savannah. That's a much more powerful simile. And if I put that in my sentence, I improve it already. One final thing to do is to use something called onomatopoeia. Now that word sounds really scary, but trust me, it's not. All it means is words that sound like the word they're describing. For instance, bang, crash, thud, or thump. And actually, thump is the one I'm going to use. I'm going to use the magic of 3 to make it more powerful though. So I'm going to go thump, thump, thump. And I'm just going to drop that at the beginning of my sentence. Thump, thump, thump. His heart beat rapidly like a cheetah chasing its prey across the savannah. That's another very powerful sentence, but this time to show someone who's a bit more scared. So we're moving quite rapidly through this, and now we're at the end of the scale of fear. Someone who's in utter shock, total fear. And I'm going to keep this one simple. I'm going to use this picture to help inspire me, and in particular I want you to pay attention to that. What's happening? Of course his eyes are popping out of their head. Now that can't really happen. This is what we call an exaggeration. Exaggeration is a great technique though. It's a really powerful and creative way of describing a situation. So let's come up with a simple sentence. His eyes popped out of their sockets. Now I don't like the verb popped. I think we can be more powerful, especially since we're going to show someone who's in total fear. So I've got a few options around me now. The first one I'm going to pick is exploded. That's a much more powerful verb. Let's drop that in. His eyes exploded out of their sockets. Now we're talking. And that's it, guys. That's the scale of fear. We started off with someone who's a little bit scared, we moved on to show someone who's more scared, and we finished by showing someone who's in total shock. So let's just review those sentences. Our first one. Billions of goosebumps danced down his arm, and the minuscule hairs on his neck stood up like frozen blades of grass on a winter's day. Then we moved up the scale. Thump, thump, thump. His heart beat rapidly, like a cheetah chasing its prey across the savannah. And finally we finished off with total fear. His eyes exploded out of their sockets. And that's all there is to the scale of fear. 3 great sentences, 3 ways of showing someone who's scared, and 3 sentences that can be used time and time again. All you've got to do is edit them slightly. All that's left to say is thank you very much for tuning in. I hope it's been useful, and I hope you can use the scale of fear in your next piece of writing. Until next time then, stay powerful and stay creative.